This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of ShopPay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
Hey everybody, today's guest is Danbert Nobacon, multi-instrumentalist and lead vocalist for the Burnley, England punk band Chumbawamba. Together we tackle the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the smash hit single, Tubthumping, taken from their 1997 album, Tub Thumper. I say it at the top of the episode, this band has history. So much, in fact, that I could have devoted a whole episode to just that. Formed in 1982, Chumbawamba released a whopping 7 full-length albums before exploding into the stratosphere with Tubthumping. This song is a pop masterpiece. Repetitive, sing-songy, catchy, and an out-of-this-world lyric make this one of the catchiest hooks of all time. We're all trying to figure out a new and unique way to emphasize something. From We Will Rock You, to We're Not Gonna Take It, to We Are the Champions. We all know those words and melodies that have us singing along right from the moment we hear them. And Tubthumping can be added to that list. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. Indeed. So for all this, and a next-door neighbor who can't seem to figure out how to get into his house, don't touch that dial.
Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
Danbert, how we doing today?
I'm good, thanks, yes. I'm in Washington, northern Washington. It's snowing, so...
Oh, okay, so you're not in the UK.
Great.
Oh,
no. No, I've lived in Washington for 17 years.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. And, before we started rolling, I had looked at some interviews. I just wanted to make sure you pronounce your surname Nobacon, and that is how you pronounce it. It's not Nobacon or Nobacon, it's Nobacon.
Nobacon, yes.
Quite possibly one of the best punk rock names ever, by the way.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
I had about 10 pages of notes with Chumbawamba's history, and I'm not going to sit here and bore you with it. I know you know your history, but for everybody listening, when I played a band called Less Than Jake, and when we had the opportunity to go over to the UK and play, the old punkers, as I was calling them back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Those were the guys that had 10 years on me. They were there back in the 80s. And you guys were revered, And when this track hit, when Tubthumping hit, you had heard rumblings of, at least in the United States, that, these guys are an anarcho-political punk band, and you didn't know how much of it was true. We didn't have Reddit or Google at our fingertips then. But please, everybody listening, check out this band's history. It is absolutely incredible. Your 6th record came out in 1994 called Anarchy, and you had a couple top 30 singles in the UK with Time Bomb and Enough's Enough. And that album was followed by the album Swingin' with Raymond in 1995. So I want to ask, between 95, and you had been a band since 82, okay? Yeah. So between 95 and 97, when this record was completed, had you written the track yet? Was it born? Were you playing it live or
no? So we did Anarchy and then Swinging with Raymond, and the next record, which was the third album for One Little Indian record label. We had a 3-album deal. So it was one of the early tracks that we wrote for the album, which became Tubthumper. And at the time, interestingly, One Little Indian, unbeknown to us, were having financial difficulties. And so there was this lack of communication, and we ended up leaving the label because they were cancelling recording sessions and all kinds of stuff. And our contract was such that we could do that. And then, like, not even a few weeks later, they sacked half the staff and half the bands, and we were on the list of bands they were going to sack anyway. And we had they'd heard the basic outline of the song, but we hadn't completed the chorus. We hadn't written the words to the chorus, but they'd heard the song. And so we went off, and our managers, were shopping. Once we finished the album with our own money, and some of us, including me, had to go back to working. We'd been making a living from the band for about 5 years, touring mostly.
You kind of answered my question. I was going to ask, were you making a living off the band at this time? And it kind of sounds like you had one foot in that world and one foot where you were coming home and still having to make ends meet with another proper job.
Yeah, well, we'd been a band for 10 years, we started in 1982, and we all had other jobs or were in school. And then in 1992, we were always having band meetings, and we basically came to the conclusion that we have to do this properly or give up. So we all quit our jobs, and we had a following, and we'd been playing in Europe, and we got an agent rather than doing it ourselves, which we'd been doing privately. And well, the second agent we got, actually, the first one wasn't very good. And from 92 onwards, we were playing over 100 shows a year, and for the first time, really, we made a small living. We all lived pretty cheap, and we were away most of the time anyway. And it was just kind of gradually building up. And then there was this kind of dip with Swinging with Raymond, and the uncertainty about the Tubthumper album, because we didn't have a label. And so our management shopped it around, and suddenly there was all this hype about the one song, Tubthumping, which to us, we just thought, well, it's an upbeat song. We have other songs like that, and it'd be great to play live. We started playing it live, and suddenly, these major labels were coming to shows wanting to sign us, but they weren't from England. They were from Europe and the US, because the English labels knew our reputation as troublemakers, or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, there was quite a bit of trouble with you. And again, you can find out about all this online. I believe it was you that once threw a glass of water in the lap of an English dignitary of some sort.
Yeah, well, it was a bucket of water, a big bucket. It was at the awards ceremony, and it was the bucket that had the ice water to chill the champagne and white wine. There were no bottles in it at that time. But it was a huge thing, and it was the Deputy Prime Minister, which is the equivalent of the Vice President.
Oh, well, again, there's more stories like that, so I could see why labels were a little trepidatious, at least in the UK, to possibly work with the band. But do you think that possibly by being free agents, not having a label, and just making this record, it was kind of the true essence of the band? You weren't thinking about it as much, and that's why it just kind of happened?
Yeah, there was definitely, because we just started off like we normally did, or we'd have an idea for what we want to write about, or what we always had a kind of a thematic thread running through albums, and, we'd talk about what kind of, or we'd, experiment with what kind of musical styles or whatever. And then there was this uncertainty. So I think that kind of crystallized, it made us kind of, unite as a group. If there were, like, sometimes in bands, you have differences or whatever, but it pulled us together, because we thought, okay, we've basically got most of an album, and we want to put it out and continue touring, So it brought us together, I think. And that probably had some impact on, because like I said, we had the 75% version, and the old record company heard it and passed on it. And then we went and finished the album, and as history reveals, it became this monster hit around the world, which was very bemusing to us at the time, because we thought, well, we've had good songs before. Why this one?
It just goes to show you that there really is, and the longer I do this podcast, I realize there's no rhyme or reason to this.
No,
there really
no.
isn't. Sometimes it's like, I wrote this song in 5 minutes. I think I have better songs. I don't know why this one was latched onto by the masses, but for some reason, and it wasn't. And what's the old saying? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's just such a cool story. You'd mentioned a moment ago that you were out playing this song in between getting signed. Do you remember the reaction from people that would hear this live before it became the massive global hit that it became?
Yeah, I think it was only like a handful of times. We were doing some festivals in Europe, in Spain and Switzerland, and just a handful of shows. And we just thought, yeah, we had. I don't like the term crowd pleaser, but it's the one that people get up and it energized people, and you could tell, But we had like a handful of songs that did that, and then some like mellow, folky stuff as well. But so yeah, definitely. Like an instant kind of positive reaction from audiences who'd never heard it before,
Well, before we get into the track and comb through this, the song went to number 2 in the UK and number 6 in the US. The song was written and produced by Chumbawamba along with Neil Ferguson, who received a production credit on the album. And he had been with the band since 1985. So he was kind of like the fifth Beatle with you guys, so to speak?
Yeah, he basically, we met him because he had a studio near to Leeds where we live, like 15 miles away. And somebody had recommended him, and we did our first EP there. And basically, we did all the records there apart from one EP in the 90s. So all the albums. And so, yeah, he just became part of the band. And after, when was it? Early 2000s, he actually joined the band as the bass player. So, and he'd do live sound for us as well. While we were touring Tubthumper, he was doing live sound for us.
So 1997 was right on the cusp of Pro Tools becoming, standard. I'm assuming this was recorded analog, this record?
Now, it's funny, there were 8 people in Chumbawamba, and we realized very early on that Boff the guitarist and Harry the drummer were the people who had the aptitude for being in the studio. You can't have 8 people trying to mix a song. So my knowledge of studio stuff is very, very limited.
That's fine. I would think this is analog, but I wonder if there was they were using digital sequencers and things then where you could take parts analog and feed it in here and then copy it, because these choruses, it's just such like a dance track that sounds kind of the same between choruses. And sometimes that can not be a good thing. In this case, I think it had to be.
Yeah, I think by then, in the early 90s in Britain, they call it dance music, raves and house music. And we definitely took on some of those influences to the extent that, like Maximum Rock and Roll, when we toured the US, I think the first album, Slap, in 1990 had some kind of dance beats on it. And Maximum Rock and Roll were just like, oh, Chumbawamba have gone disco, they've sold out. But that was all about their interpretation of what punk should be as a musical style. And we were always trying to shake things up musically.
I think the punkest thing you could have done was make a dance album as Chumbawamba in 1990.
Yeah. So I know there was modern recording techniques involved, from the 1990 onwards. I couldn't tell you exactly what they are, but they're on that record, definitely.
That's fine. Tubthumping was the first track on the album Tubthumper. The single went to radio August 11th, 1997, and the album was released on September 1st, 1997. The track is 3 minutes and 33 seconds long, and this intro, we went with the radio edit, by the way, Danbert. The figured that'd be what most of the listeners know was the same song that was in the video that was all over MTV at the time. But this intro in itself, in its own way, is uplifting. But it's the chorus that's just such a beast that it eclipses everything of this song.
Yeah.
This beginning is it just makes you feel so good. It's 4 bars of really filtered atmospheric acoustic guitars with this choir-esque vocal, and on every beat we hear a rim shot sounding gated hit, almost like a hand clap. And what this explodes into absolutely rules. The lyric here at the top is, "We'll be singing. When we're winning, we'll be singing." And it's almost like a precursor to what's going to come of "we're not backing down, we're not giving up." It was almost like this foreshadowing with that lyric. What's going on here with the opening lyrics?
So that lyric is something that, you know, crowds sing on football games, English soccer games. You know, it's just a populist chant, if you like. And I think we kind of tweaked the tune, you know, to fit the music, but it's like a folk populist refrain, if you like. So people in England certainly would just recognise that if they've ever been on a football game.
Okay, well, I've been to a few footy matches, and I've been to the UK many, many times, but that went over my head. I did not pick up on that at the top. And man, I just feel like, and I know on the record there was another spoken word intro, but I feel with this beginning that you almost had to have this setup, that you couldn't have had a 4 count and went right into this chorus. It had to have something, because I feel that it just hits so much harder having this beginning intro preceding it.
Yeah. I'd never thought of it like that, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, chorus 1, you know, the old saying, "Don't bore us, get to the chorus." We're at 9 seconds here, Danbert. 9 seconds, and we're in to... I'm going to go out here and say it. I don't care if anybody disagrees with me. I'm going to die on this hill. This is one of the catchiest lyrics ever. One of the catchiest. It stands up there with "We Will Rock You." It's that catchy. It's that poignant. Who cannot rally around this?
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. And that's repeated again for every chorus till the end, where it's repeated a bunch. We got live drums along with a drum sampler with a tambourine, bass guitar, really nice stereo guitars. They're distorted, but they're pushed back. We got some synth pads, and the vocals are stacked here in unison. And in my notes, Danbert, I wrote they're unapologetically British.
Okay, yeah.
You know, a lot of times when people sing, you can't hear their accent, but you can definitely hear it here.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't try to hide where we're from, Northern England. So, and unusually in Britain, maybe, I don't know. You know, if you're in a band, the onus is to move to London because that's where the music business is and all the media and everything. But we just wanted to we lived in Leeds, which is 200 miles north, and we grew up kind of on that latitude, you know, different towns in the north. So we were always kind of proud of that heritage. And I think you can hear it on the record. It's like the Beatles, you can hear their accents on the records. Not all the time, but it just comes through it in certain points, you know. It
is awesome. It just adds to everything that this song is. And that lyric, did that come about when you were doing, and I don't even think I asked you this, did you do a demo for this song? I think that was what you had played maybe for the labels?
Yeah, it was kind of like a working demo. It's just like, you know, we'd put tracks together and you know, they would have sometimes nonsense lyrics, you know, waiting for us to write the real lyrics. And I think that was the case with the chorus on this one. We hadn't come up with it. And finally, Boff, the guitar player, and this is the essence of the story of the song, really. He was in bed, him and his wife were in bed. and they lived in a row house in Leeds. And suddenly they had this commotion, and it was the next door neighbour who was drunk, and he was coming up the street singing Danny Boy, which are all these elements are in the lyrics. And so he goes to his front door and he's trying to put his key in, and he falls over, and they can see him. So they're looking outside the bedroom window, and he gets up, and he does it again, and he does it a couple of times. He falls over and gets back up. And that was the inspiration for the chorus. And that's kind of why there's drink involved in the song as well.
I mean, this chorus, it's the chorus that everyone wants to write. I mean, I say it's a big if. If I were to write this chorus right now, it's kind of rudimentary and simple on paper. Me looking at it, I'd have to Google it and see if that's already a chorus out there. And I mean that with the utmost compliment. Yeah. Like, we're all striving to say, we will rock you. We're not going to take it, you know, and be the first person to say that. Yeah.
And I think you're right. And it's like a universal, it taps into a universal feeling that, you know, because we all get knocked down and it has so many applications, and that's kind of been reflected in the kind of things that the song has been used for since, you know, sports, obviously, a lot of movies, but, you know, striking workers have adopted it, soccer teams have adopted it, even some ice skating guy did, which, and like, you know, even, which to me, you know, during the Iraq War, you know, 2003, it was one of the most played songs on the British services radio in Iraq, which to me is kind of weird because, you know, some of those guys didn't get up, and that's the nature of war. But yeah, really, it became such a thing that, you know, of all our songs from all the 11 plus albums or whatever, it is the one you've just got to say, okay, it's out there and it's got its own life. We can't control how people use it, and we wouldn't want to, really, you know, but it's like a child that's gone out into the world and done all these things, some of which I think are great and some I'm not so happy with, but that's, when you have children, that is also the case.
Sure. Well, I'm calling the next part post-chorus 1. Pissin' the night away, pissin' the night away. And what's unique about this part is we change progressions. We go to E minor, G, B minor, A in this section, which it's for the next pre-chorus, and the solo section of this song that we'll get to later uses that. But the rest of this just hammers you with that D to G, D to G, back to A. It's just, that's what punk songs are about. They're the same three chords. A lot of dance songs are too.
Yeah. So, you know, and that's just where we'd been doing it for 15 years, I guess, writing all our own songs or whatever. So we had some skill, I guess, you know, in putting that together. And sometimes it's like you said earlier, sometimes it just clicks, the simplest pattern or whatever, but it just has something about it.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. We got lots more coming up with Danbert after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits, to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
Your data is like gold to hackers. They're selling your passwords, bank details, and private messages. McAfee helps stop them. Secure VPN keeps your online activity private. AI-powered text scam detector spots phishing attempts instantly. And with award-winning antivirus, you get top-tier hacker protection. Plus, you'll get up to $2 million in identity theft coverage, all for just $39.99 for your first year. Visit McAfee.com. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
Get the Angel Reese special at McDonald's now. Let's break it down. My favorite barbecue sauce, American cheese, crispy bacon, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun, of course. And don't forget the fries and a drink. Sound good? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating restaurants for a limited time. Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does without me lifting a finger, so I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase of 16 weeks, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
And now, back to the show.
You start off with these female vocals. It gets into this chorus, back to the female vocals, which I believe that's Lou Watts on vocals, correct? The Pissing the Night Away part?
Yeah. I think Jude sings on it as well. Jude, the trumpet player, she probably has some overlaying vocals.
Well, this part, besides the chord progression changing there, it breaks down to a sampled breakbeat. That acoustic guitar is changing chords with the synths. And there's a flutter of a record scratch before we get into what I'm calling verse 1. And was that tongue-in-cheek? Was that a sign of the times because it was the 90s? Or it's fun. I think it definitely has its purpose here. But I thought that was interesting when I heard it. It's the only time you hear it in the song.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you really, but we did use a lot of, that whatever the technology was, as it evolved in the 90s. Harry and Boff in particular, in the studio would want to experiment with elements of what was going on, in our culture around us as music changed and the technology changed.
Were you going for kind of a double entendre there with Pissin' the Night Away? Because Pissin' is getting really drunk in the UK. That's what you would call it. But, also Pissin' the Night Away is just like you're throwing the night away because you're just wasted.
Yeah. It's just language that people use in England, common phraseology, and it fits with the song. And if we were trying to write a hit record, I don't think we would have put the word pissing in it because, when it came out, a lot of the radio stations were tentative because pissing is on the, on a scale of 1 to 10 swear words. It's at the low end. It's probably 2 or 1 or 2, but they didn't normally play songs with that word in it.
Yeah.
So it kind of broke ground in that way as well, which was just coincidental, really. We weren't thinking we're writing this song so it'll get played on radio.
Right. Well, I can tell you one thing. I guarantee people were calling. Remember back in the day, you'd have to call the radio station to tell them what you wanted to hear?
Yeah.
I guarantee people were calling the station saying, hey, can you play the song that talks about the whiskey drink and the vodka drink?
Yeah.
They might not have remembered the other lyrics. And to my point, getting into verse 1 here, I mean, what's the chorus in this song? I think we all know it's I get knocked down, but I get up again, that whole thing. But this is so catchy.
He drinks a whiskey drink, he drinks a vodka drink, he drinks a lager drink, he drinks a cider drink. He sings the songs that remind him of the good times, he sings the songs that remind him of the better times.
He drinks a whiskey drink, he drinks a vodka drink, he drinks a lager drink, he drinks a cider drink. He sings the songs that remind him of the good times, he sings the songs that remind him of the better times.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Was that just kind of referencing this guy that kept falling down at the door? Were you kind of summing up his evening?
Yeah. I mean, obviously they didn't know what he'd been drinking, but the singing the songs, it's just a reflection of working class pub culture in Britain, which we grew up with. And it goes back hundreds. It's almost kind of like a folk tradition, singing around a piano in a pub or whatever. And you do sing, not always, the uplifting songs.
Sure. So here in verse 1, the sampled drums get more present with the synths along with the acoustic guitar. And there's also a staccato guitar that runs throughout the verse. This it's like a delayed staccato piece that's in there. And that part goes all the way through the next part, the pre-chorus. It kind of keeps this thing moving. It's kind of like it's kind of hammering you through this part.
Yeah.
Do you recall that part happening?
To be honest, I don't know.
Okay. I love it because, again, we're back to the D to G.
Yeah.
It's very formulaic here, and just having that thing here, it just sets those 3 chords apart, and we get into pre-chorus 1. You touched on this a moment ago. We get the Danny Boy reference here, and the lyric is, "Oh, Danny boy, Danny boy, Danny boy." And we're back to female vocals. The chord progression is still the exact same as the verse, but the vocals have a harmony on them, and it feels like a pre-chorus to me. That's why I'm calling it first harmonies in the song. And it's so cool to set up this next chorus. So again, we went to the chorus, to the female vocals, to the verse, to the female vocals, back to chorus 2, which I'm calling a double.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
We're not messing around here. You didn't inject any new lyrics here. Why, right?
I don't know. Sometimes a lot of our songs there'll be, a lot of changes lyrically, but you just go with the feel of it, you can just sense, the song structure. It's a mystery how songs are written and where do they come from, why do you make those choices? And, there's 8 people in Chumbawamba and all those different influences, and then why pick that progression at that point? And you might have experimented, with a few things, but something suddenly clicks.
No, this is a very, very unorthodox, and I never realized it. I heard it back on the radio back in the day. It was a song you heard, and I've just grown to love the song over the years. I think a lot of the songs from the 90s that maybe, if it was on the radio, I was too punk rock, I didn't want to listen to it. My listeners know I've gone back as a older man and discovered just amazing music.
Oh, yeah.
And this song is one of those. Out of chorus 2, we get into post-chorus 2. Same lyric, pissing the night away, pissing the night away. The chords progression do change here back to that E minor, G, B minor, A. Same overall instrumentation and lyrics as post-chorus 1. Let's talk about this. Again, you just wanted it to say what it said. We weren't going to change the lyric here, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the way it felt.
My brain, though, wants to be the artist sometimes. And that's why I got a big smile on my face when I'm talking about this, because my brain, and why I never wanted to produce records, because my brain would be going, well, wait a second, this time pissing the night away. The second time could be pissing my life away.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it can stay with us. And sometimes that restraint is the hardest thing as a songwriter.
Yeah. I think, setting your own limits can be, that's why I like, I write academic things occasionally, essays, and I've written fiction, whatever. But it's much, with a song, a 3 or 4 minute song, you immediately have boundaries, and I love music for that, popular music. We know somebody who's an artist, and she does paper cuts. So she has a piece of paper, and if she messes up, then she'll start again, but she doesn't go outside the paper. And it's same with a frame, I think having those boundaries kind of, they both stimulate and force your creativity to work within that framework. And that's a good thing, I think, because the human brain can just keep going off at tangents if you don't have some limitations to the form.
Yeah, I can listen to a 13-minute Iron Maiden song too, but I prefer to be in the pop world, use it most of the time.
Yeah. There's obviously different forms. But.
Yeah, even my attention span wants to bring it back in sometimes. We get into verse 2, which I'm going to ask again, and I think that's the charm of this song. We only have a few lyrics in here that are repeated. The second pre-chorus we're going to get to in a moment, the lyric change is there, but there's not much change here. Was there a thought of saying, hey, second verse, maybe he drinks rum here instead of whiskey?
I don't, I think it just kind of found its feet, and it just didn't need further additions. And sometimes that's the way, but other times you want to make the additions to kind of expand the storyline or whatever. But it's a very simple kind of storyline, if you like, the narrative in it. So it, in repetition, especially in music, it is one of the key elements, really. We could have slightly tweaked it, and I don't know if it would have made any difference one way or another.
Well, I always give the example of, the first songs that a lot of us hear were nursery rhymes as kids.
Oh, yeah.
And it can't get more simple than those, those melodies and what's happening in those songs. It just hits you over the head. And then, of course, you go from there to TV jingles and commercials. That's the same thing. It's just little earworms that get in there and you can't get out. Something really cool happens here in verse 2, Danbert. On he drinks a cider drink. There's barely, right after it, it's barely audible. I don't think it's a delay, but it sounds like maybe Lou's voice, like he drinks a cider drink.
Oh, yeah.
It's like just this little, little nugget there. I don't know if you ever noticed it before. It's so cool.
Yeah.
He drinks a whiskey drink, he drinks a vodka drink, he drinks a lager drink, he drinks a cider drink. He sings the songs that remind him of the good times. He sings the songs that remind him of the better times.
That's just part of the fun of being in the studio, just adding elements. Or, sometimes are almost indistinguishable. But if you took them out, you'd hear that there's a little gap.
Pre-chorus 2 comes right on the heels of verse 2. And here we get a lyric change. There's a harmony on both of these lines. And the lyric is, "Don't cry for me, next door neighbor." And now I get what that lyric means.
Yeah.
You're seeing this poor bastard. He can't get in his house.
Yeah. And, I'm guessing, I don't actually know that it comes from Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, the famous musical song reference, and it's just, I think we did that. Like I said, some of these elements in this song are from football chants or things you hear people say. They're just elements of the commons of language, really.
Here in pre-chorus 2, it's the same instrumentation as pre-chorus 1, but aside from the lyric change here, there's also a faint bell that's ringing twice, panned off right, like a hearing test. Ding, ding. And I'm going, why is this here on pre-chorus 2 but nowhere else? It's barely audible. I'm sure you don't know what I'm talking about, no. But I love stuff like that.
Yeah. See, I'm more the person who hears the whole thing rather than the elements. I actually, because I make my own records now, I do pay more attention. I should go back and listen.
Well, we're going to talk about your new double album here at the end, I promise, because I have some questions about that. Okay. It sounds really, really cool. But no, I'm like you. In all honesty, I listen to songs as a whole piece. As I try to. That's I think most people do, but this songwriting podcast has really got me looking for these types of nuances, and I just love that there's a little hearing test going on here in pre-chorus 2 for everybody. Chorus 3 comes right after that. Again, what I'm calling a double chorus. Same overall instrumentation and lyrics as the previous 2 choruses, and then we get in to a trumpet solo for 16 bars over the other progression, that E minor progression. The first half is a bit subdued, but the back half gets more playful to then take us in to chorus 4.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
We get 4 choruses in this song, and at the end, it really gets hammered. That's a lot of choruses, but it had to be for this song. You can get away with it. You can't get away with doing that many choruses in some song. And chorus 4 pretty much is the same as the other choruses, but we're getting a call and response. I get knocked down and we'll get a "will be singing" backing vocal. You're never going to keep me down when we're winning. That comes back. We'll be singing. And on the last line, you're never going to keep me down, we get these ooh, ooh, ooh vocals. So the song's building here. And this double chorus, what I'm calling chorus 4, 4 has all of those parts, and then we get into the outro, which is now 6 double choruses.
Yeah.
And it just hammers you here at the end. And I want to ask, you keep talking about what feels right, and I always go by that too. I try not to look at how long a song is or how short a song is. Does it feel right? This song feels awesome, but was there ever a question here at the end? Wow, we're hitting him with the kitchen. There's too much in the kitchen sink here.
I think we had like the kind of 75% demo version, and you always do have the option, though. I don't know if it was in fashion in the 90s to fade it out, but we would have tried it live and found that, well, this is, and doing that final chorus live was, it's like the apex of the, and the crowd are all into it.
Well, and live you can extend it for as long as you want, especially if it's the last track in your set. You could play it till the last car leaves the arena.
You could, but we didn't do that. We just stuck it in the middle. We didn't give it any special build up.
And again, I say that with the utmost respect. The song.
I know. Yeah.
No, this song's so good. And what I'm calling the double chorus, again, is 6 times here at the end. I'll get knocked down. We'll be singing. But I get up again, pissing the night away. You're never going to keep me down when we're winning. I get knocked down. We'll be singing. But I get up again, pissing the night away. You're never going to keep me down. You get those ooh, ooh, oohs here. The whole song starts to fade at the end of the second time through. On the third round, the trumpet comes back in. This trumpet at the end is almost like the bugle march at the end of a funeral or something. I get that.
Yeah, so the trumpet line,
it's awesome.
If I remember rightly, is based on a piece of classical music. I can't remember which one. In classical music, I guess is public domain, 300 years later.
Right.
So Jude, the trumpet player, she had the imagination or creativity to fit that in with the song, because we already had the song, and she added that, and it takes it to another level in a way.
So the song fades out completely during the 6th time through. And the last thing, Danbert, here in my notes that I have, I said, and I kind of said this earlier, not so many words, I said, talk about hammering a grade A home run A+ of a hook into the ground. And I said, we will rock you, anyone, with a question mark. This is a stadium chant. This is, and as you said, this song became bigger than you ever imagined, bigger than, it has a life of its own. You can't control what the song does at that point. And as an artist, it no longer becomes yours. I want to ask, you were this ragtag punk band for 15 years, and this song happens. What did your family think? What did your close friends think?
They were all super excited. My parents came to shows. They came to shows before that, but like my brother, we played this huge show in London, and my brother surprised me by bringing my parents to it. There's like 2,000 people or whatever, and the record company came with the platinum discs and stuff, and they just loved it. And like people, even now, people say, "Oh, I heard the song. I was at work and it came on," or I saw a movie and it was in the, and I don't know. People just like that connection, I guess.
I want to ask one other thing. You're living in Washington State now, and I know this has happened to you, and I could be wrong. Maybe you still get recognized, but you're sitting at some breakfast place or having a coffee one morning and the song comes on, and you're looking around this packed diner going, yeah, that's me singing. I wrote this song. That's a crazy feeling, right?
It is, yes. And it does, yeah. It still happens occasionally, and
yeah.
People, it's happened here locally. I went to the karaoke night and someone put the song down under my name, and everybody knows me in the bar. So I'm thinking, I don't really want to do it, but I have to do it, and people loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And before we break, as promised, I want to talk about your new double album. Am I pronouncing this right? Called Coctopus's Garden?
Coctopus's Garden, yeah.
Okay. And then the rest of the title is Now That's What I Call Capitalism, the musical.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
So I wrote this over the last, it came out last year. So I don't know, after the pandemic, basically. And unusually, it was supposed to be a single album, but it turned into a double album. And it took about 2 years. And basically, I read a lot of books, and, Chumbawamba read a lot of books, and the music press in Britain, who were quite conservative, thought that was a negative quality. Because, pop music's meant to be simple. We've just talked about this song that has all these very simple elements. But some of the other Chumbawamba stuff and a lot of my stuff has a lot more detail in it, shall we say. And I'm really a failed academic, so I read these books and write essays, and then they turn into songs, the key elements. So Coctopus's Garden, the Koch brothers, it's really interesting with what's happening now with Trump and Musk, because, the Kochs established the model of billionaires buying the system from the 1970s onwards. They were not just them, but they kind of broke the mold, really. And Elon Musk really has just stepped into that. Oh, I can give, $270 million and buy myself a seat on the government. It's becoming more extreme, but Koch's vision is exactly the same as Project 2025. Destroy the administrative state and privatize it. So a lot of the songs are kind of about the history of that and how it is in the media and how it affects people and the planet and people trying to fight back. And that's the kind of story of the musical. And at some point, I do hope to actually turn it into a musical that is on stage. I worked for 9 years with the high school theatre here in Twisp, Washington. And we did write a couple of plays, and they had music in them, and I directed them. So that's part of my radar as well, theatre. And Chumbawamba was very theatrical. And I'm in my early 60s now, and I don't really know what else to do. I'm not qualified really to do much else.
Yeah, I can do a music podcast outside of my band. That's about it. I'm not going to put a tool belt on and go hammering nails.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
I did a little bit of that, building sets for the theater, but I'm not qualified in that,
Understood. Well, everybody check out that album. I'm looking forward to listening to myself, and I want to thank you so much for sitting in and giving us your time today.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Chris. I totally appreciate it, and I appreciate your eye and your ear for detail on that. You made me want to go back and listen to the song for some of those hidden elements.
We're all living in the Coctopus's Garden. Global warming spreads as it's becoming earworms while they fiddle the system and the tax returns as Rome and LA burns.
Hey everybody, you're hearing the title track from Danbert Nobacon and the Axis of Descent's album, Coctopus's Garden. Now That's What I Call Capitalism, the musical. So go check that out, and don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
I'm ready for my life to change.
ABC Sunday, American Idol returns.
Give it your all. Good luck. Come out with the golden ticket.
Let's hear it.
This is a man's world.
I've never seen anything like it.
And a new chapter begins.
We're going to Hollywood.
Carrie Underwood joins Lionel Richie, Luke Bryan, and Ryan Seacrest on American Idol. Season premiere Sunday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Campfire season's back, and that means s'mores. But when you're at home treating yourself, take them over ice with Dunkin' S'mores Cold Brew Concentrate. And suddenly you're always treating yourself. The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be. Click or tap the banner to shop now.
Hi, this is Javon, your Blinds.com design consultant.
Oh, wow. A real person.
Yep. I'm here to help with everything from selecting the perfect window treatments to...
Well, I've got a complicated project.
No problem. I can even help schedule a professional measure and install. We can also send you samples fast and free.
I just might have to do more.
Whatever you need.
So the first room we're looking at is for...
Shop Blinds.com now and save up to 45% on select styles. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Imagine a world-class graduate education that's accessible, flexible, and designed for career impact. That's Harvard Extension School. Build actionable knowledge and skills in challenging online classes taught by Harvard faculty and industry experts. Explore new opportunities and expand your network with high-achieving professionals from around the world. Part-time learning. Real-world impact. This is Harvard on your terms. Learn more at extension.harvard.edu/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Hotel of the Laughing Tree, a musical collaboration between four friends who live in different states but create digitally to record new records. The band has released 6 full lengths, their most recent being A Mountain Fastness. Here's a snippet of their song, Amaretto Thunder Song.
Waking with a new sleepless order. At the finally changed, always looking up through the water. I'll be home tonight. Keep me on your bright side. Baby, please.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
So, Chris, I love that episode, and I do want to say right off the top here that trumpet piece, the piece of music they sampled, is from the Prince of Denmark's March, which is also known as the Trumpet Voluntary. That song was written by Jeremiah Clark around 1700, who was the first organist of St. Paul's Cathedral, and it's been used for centuries at major events, including like British royal weddings and stuff. So just wanted to fill you in on that first right off the bat.
No, I appreciate you doing so. I believe that you had that in the 12 pages of notes that you sent to me on this song that I tried to condense down. The one thing that I cut out, of course, that was it. Man, this song just has just those little references like that. The soccer chant, the footy chant at the top. We'll be singing when we're winning. I know what that is now, but I did not put 2 and 2 together until he said it.
Right.
So cool.
Yeah, people in England, I guess, would know that opening part as something you'd chant at a soccer game. We don't know that, but now it makes sense as to why that would be there. And it also makes sense that, I don't know, you guys didn't talk about it, but I wanted to be like, do people chant this at football games in England? It seems like something that would totally make sense for people to sing.
Oh yeah, they do. It's, okay. Again, I brought up "We Will Rock You" a couple times. It's kind of like, you're gonna stomp your feet and be singing. Although, as I said to Danbert, I've been to a couple footy games over the years. I don't recall it, but now that he mentioned it, I have heard people sing this before. I love how the song starts. I had mentioned it to him, and he even said, "I never thought about it like that, because it could have just come on with a 4 count. I get knocked down, and you're in the song." Nobody would have been none the wiser, but I think it hits harder because of this kind of almost pretty beginning.
Yeah, it's almost like there were so many like punk bands and bands from our world. I'm sure that my band has done it at some point where you start something with like a lo-fi part, so then when it kicks in, it like takes your head off, and that's kind of what this does too. I do like that Danbert talked about how once you release a song into the world, you can't control how people use it. Yes, it can be used at sporting events. You know, if you're looking directly at the song, it's about a drunk guy in the street who's literally getting back up. You can't hold him down, but then it's used in everything from commercials. He said they used it as like a military thing at some point for like the British military. You can't control how people interpret it once it's out there, even if it wasn't the original intentions of the song to be used for certain things.
We're all trying to find that lyric. I said it to him, shout it out loud. We're not going to take it. I want to rock and roll all night. Just something repetitive that gets in people's ears. And you couldn't have hit it out of the park any harder than this. Then you get into what a hook, pissing the night away, saying that twice. I mean, having radio kind of be, I don't know about it because it's edgy in the States, but pissing's just another word in the UK,
Yeah, it's funny because he said, like, if we were trying to write a hit record, we probably wouldn't have put the word pissing in it, which, yeah, pissing is like, it's not really like a cuss word, but also it's kind of like frowned upon. Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily say to my mom, like, hey, I'm going to go take a piss. I don't usually use the word piss like that for some reason. It's kind of like more just like a rude word.
Yeah.
But I feel like Chumbawamba really broke ground for people using the word pissing.
Yeah. And then you get into the verse, he drinks a whiskey drink. He drinks a vodka drink. This guy's feeling good because then he drinks a lager drink and a cider drink. And the next part is just so foghorn leghorn to me. Like, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. He sings the songs that remind him of the good times. He sings the songs that remind him of the better times. You're getting that booze in you. And it's like, the world isn't so bad.
That's right. That makes sense. Hey, I really think that the repetition of this song is the genius of it. The fact that, I mean, we've said this about some songs before, but the fact that someone in a bar or a club could hear this song for the very first time in their life, and by the second verse, you probably would be able to sing along to it. There's a genius to the songwriting of that.
Absolutely. They didn't overthink it. And as songwriters, for them being on their 8th album at this point, with 8 cooks in the kitchen, plus producer Neil Ferguson, there's like 9 people in that studio. There might be second engineers, whoever else is running around grabbing coffee. Truly a chaotic scene. It sounds like that Danbert was like, I'll come do my vocal parts, but I'm getting out of here. He wasn't the technical guy. And I get that. Somebody has to sit out that part. Not everybody can be at the studio at the same time. I love how, yes, it's so simple, this song, but what an unorthodox arrangement. And then it's like everything coalesces here at the very end, Chris, when all of those vocals come back. Yeah. The pissing the night away, we'll be singing, all those things come in on the last chorus and just kind of wrap up the whole song into one little package. And then we send them off with a funeral dirge with the old trumpet saying goodbye at the end.
Yeah. Kitchen sink. We love that kitchen sink at the end. You're bringing in all the different elements. And yeah, this song, it is pretty solid structurally. Like you have your parts, but I did like how he talked about the human brain can go off on a lot of tangents if you don't have some boundaries. And they knew what their boundaries were in this song. And without those boundaries of keeping it this thing and repeating that chorus so many times, it might not have been a hit song. It might not have been one of the biggest songs of the 90s.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I'm really thrilled that his parents got to see his success and go see his shows.
That's cool.
My mom and dad always, my mom still does. My dad loved come see me play. When he said that, I thought that was pretty cool. And what else is pretty cool, Chris? We have a Patreon over at ChrisDeMakes.com, where for the price of, I don't know, is a cup of coffee more than $5 now, Chris?
Oh, yeah, easily. If you go to...
Yeah, okay, so...
Yeah, right.
Okay, so for the price of a gas station cup of coffee, like $5, you can help us keep the lights here on at Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Go to ChrisDeMakes.com. DeMakes.com. You get bonus episodes of the After Party and all kinds of other stuff. Chris, you got a review for us this week.
I do have a review for us. How did you know?
See, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just a soothsayer. What can I say?
One of those things, aside from signing up for our Patreon at ChrisDeMakes.com, we do really appreciate when people leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Wherever you can leave a review, we appreciate the reviews. Here's one I want to read. This one is from someone named Indie Rock Recovery, who wrote special and gave us 5 stars and said, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but this is one I can't miss. I got turned onto it by a friend sending me the first Chuck Reagan interview, and I was hooked. I got deep into music listening to punk /hardcore /emo /indie, and it's great to hear so many of those guests. What's really amazing are the ones that I've never heard of or paid much attention to. Probably my favorite was Eric Bazillion. Just great interviews on both songs. My only complaint, and not enough to lose stars, is the Creed song that is still stuck in my head. Thanks for the great show.
It was called No Indie what? No Indie Recovery?
Indie Rock Recovery.
Oh, Indie Rock Recovery. All right. Well, thanks, Indie Rock Recovery, for your review. And keep those reviews coming. Go check us out on Instagram. We got a page over there that Chris kills it every day on, as well as the Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook group. And I want to thank this week's guest, Danbert Nobacon from Chumbawamba, for sitting in the hot seat. And we'll see you next week.
DistroKid, 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 whoa, DistroKid, 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 whoa, DistroKid's the easy way, release music, get paid, be prolific, have no fear, get your songs to people's ears, get your music everywhere, you wrote the tune, it's time to share, all the places people stream, the time is now to live your dream, DistroKid, 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 whoa, DistroKid, 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 whoa.
Head to distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes to get 30% off your first year with DistroKid.
Every listener to Too Much Effing Perspective knows that my co-host Alan Keller is a music nerd. And right up there in his pantheon with the Beatles and Elvis Costello is The Clash. So Alan, it's one thing for you to be a nerd, but how did you rope in a cool guy, 311's Nick Hexum, into a full-on Clash geek fest on our show?
Well, first of all, Alex, it was your idea.
Oh. Right.
Second, Nick actually jammed with the Clash's Joe Strummer in a supergroup that included Flea and Tom Morello.
Okay, well, there is that.
And finally, one member of the Clash cited This Is Spinal Tap, the reason our show even exists, as his favorite movie.
Which one?
Hey, if you want to find out, you got to listen to Too Much Effing Perspective. That's Too Much EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bruce.
And I'm Nolan, and this is the Corner of Gray Street podcast. As longtime Dave Matthews Band fans, we set out to create a podcast to dive deep into the past, present, and future of DMB.
Not only do we recap and review shows within an ongoing tour, but we revisit past shows from throughout the band's history, conduct interviews with a wide variety of guests with ties to DMB, and create unique and exclusive content like our Concerts on the Corner series.
Whether you're a fan of the band or just a fan of great music, we think you'll find something you'll enjoy. We can't wait to see you on the Corner of Gray Street.